Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We're happy and excited to show you some of the features and capabilities in Workday Adaptive Planning. My name is Richard Lieb. I'm an account executive with Revelwood, and joining me today is Ernie Goff. He's one of our solutions consultants here at Revelwood. We'd like to thank you all again for joining us on today's presentation. I just want to take a few minutes to give you an idea of what to expect today. Again, my name is Richard Lieb. I'm an account executive here at Revelwood, and Ernie Goff is going to be running our demo for us. Ernie comes with decades of experience with planning and planning technologies, so you're in good hands. First, some background on Revelwood. We are a platinum partner of Workday, and what that means is that we are part of an extremely select group of partners that help you evaluate and implement the adaptive planning solution. We have nearly 30 years of experience and are made up of a diverse team of certified consultants with decades of financial operations and system experience. We've implemented over 300 adaptive customers, and that list continues to grow. We also help existing adaptive customers with model enhancements, integrations, support services, and one-on-one training. Some of you may be here because you have an active initiative to get into a cloud FP&A solution, or some of you may be here to learn or are curious. Either way, we greatly appreciate you taking 15 minutes with us in the next few days just to have a quick chat to see what your current challenges are, if you have any feedback, or whether there are resources we can follow up with that will help. The demo today is meant to give you a glimpse into what Adaptive can do, and will not show every single feature, more level set. Everyone on this call is on mute, but if you have any questions, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. Please enter your questions there, and we'll try to get to those by the end of the webinar. If not, we will make sure to get back to you via email. So a few short slides before we begin the demo. This is a common finance challenge. We all know time is money, and finance teams can save a lot of that time by connecting the functions that they have and can complete their forecasts in less than 3 weeks once connected. This ability to deliver data and forecasts faster helps to make changes across the organization quickly. A little bit about Workday for those of you not familiar. Workday is a publicly traded software company with over $7 billion in revenue. They earned very high marks with trade publications analysts, was rated #1 on Fortune's Future 50, and listed as one of the most innovative companies and best places to work. In terms of adaptive planning, today's focus, it was founded in 2003, acquired by Workday in 2018, and we talk about 6,500 plus customers, some of smaller companies, some mid-size and enterprise, more than the closest competitors by far. We like to point people to the Gartner Magic Quadrant as well, due to always being in the leader quadrant. Adaptive planning is a place where you can do your modeling, reporting, and analytics all in one place. So everything that you need is in one solution, and it will act as your central source of truth, if you will. So typically we're talking with finance teams, and of course we're pulling in the general ledger data, but Adaptive can connect to really any data source that you need it to, because at the end of the day, data is data, and you'll be able to bring all the data together into one place to model and report with confidence. When we talk about customers, we talk about a variety of vertical industries. Many of our customers are making the journey from Excel to a purpose-built solution for budgeting, planning, and financial reporting. Excel is a great solution to a point, but at some point companies hit a wall. They want to expand the number of users, make it a more collaborative process, and they want to scale. Adaptive planning is the perfect solution for all size companies to do just that. Adaptive has a 95% retention rate, which speaks to the value of what these customers are getting from the platform across many different industries. Some notes on effective strategic forecasting. It requires flexible modeling that lets you adjust dimensions as business conditions change for what-if scenario modeling on the fly. Enterprise-wide planning capabilities that enable organizations to orchestrate planning and performance at local and corporate levels, and a single data source across the organization for the insights and confidence needed to make decisions better. And now, without further ado, for a little bit more detailed information, I'll have Ernie present a Workday Adaptive Planning demo for us all.
Thanks, Rich. Let's switch over here. Okay, so today we touched on broadly strategic forecasting, and I'm going to show a little bit how a fully built out adaptive instance can support that process. We're going to touch on efficient sheet management, integrating assumptions into your plans, how easily the dashboards come together, and I'll show you some advanced tools that Adaptive can help you bring to bear for your forecast. What we're looking at right now is a fully built out dashboard. And I like to start here because it shows really the foundational elements of Adaptive, which are really part of the these aspects that make Adaptive really unique in the marketplace. We're going to touch on these in every section, but I'd like to show them here because it's just, these dashboards are great. Up here we have versions, right? Adaptive has unlimited versions, which you can see we can organize, we can lock, we can even create our own private one. I'll show you an example of that later. This lets you really set up different ways of comparing your business without having to incur extra overhead or setup. These are things that users can set up and maintain. Another foundational element is time. Adaptive can be configured daily, weekly, quarterly, all the usual time breaks right out of the box. Very easy to set up and maintain. There's one resource calendar throughout, so everything moves together. That kind of coordination, if you've worked with Excel, you know how hard it is to make sure the right data is showing up in the right place. Adaptive just solves that out of the box. Another foundational element here is level. This is your org structure. This resource allows you to set up your company and your planning levels the way you want. It's where security starts, so only certain teams can see the data they're allowed to based on these levels, and really provides that kind of backbone for keeping everybody's business relationship organized, right? No more linking cells or worrying about reporting or roll-ups or tabs. You have your org structure right here. And the last piece that I'll touch on in 1 second is accounts. We all know that accounts are your GL, but in Adaptive, you are also making accounts using the account feature to make your KPI level KPIs and other formula and driver-based formulas that help keep your model organized. So you don't have to do everything in GL terms. You can use the account function to plan things out and then bring them back into the GL accounts. So moving to dashboarding, right? What we're looking at here is, like I said, a fully built out dashboard. This is something that you would want to set up to keep people organized. Security flows through here, so people only see the data that they are allowed to see. I've got this one set up to do things like planning versions, right? To look at our targets versus our actuals. We can check into our CRM. Adaptive integrates with hundreds of data sources because planning touches on hundreds of sources of data. Out of the box, the capabilities for integration are native. You don't have to add, it's some low code, but there's no extra components or clients or things that you have to add automatically. Let's say you have a production facility, you want to check on your KPIs there, your trends, you can bring it all into one place. This is a fully built out example. You wouldn't necessarily want to start here or need to start here, but I like to show it just because it represents, the possibility. And it's easy to set up. Let me show you an example. I'm going to set up a simple pie chart. Adaptive utilizes drag and drop functionality throughout. And so I will just drag this here. I'll come over and I'm going to look at OpEx accounting by function. So I'm going to go to my GL accounts, and you can see here that there's different types of account groupings based on how we're using it. But I'm just going to take OpEx. Again, I'm going to drag this over. Once I have that basic setup, I'm just going to change my title. And you can see that that automatically updates. Drag this to the middle just to give us a little bit better of a view. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to change my breakdown. I'm going to go into dimensions. Adaptive has multi-dimensional capabilities. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to take my functional areas. And you can see my graph update, my chart update dynamically. And then my time. I'm going to change my time stratum to look at this by quarters. And I'm going to kind of look at last year's Q1. And you can see that these are all interactive, right? We'll cover drill in a second, that the information appears. I can hide things, right? Very dynamic, interactive chart right out of the box in seconds. So that's, when you think of that, think of the fact that all of this dashboard were built up from very similar drag and drop components like that. So you don't have to start with complexity. You can build something very simple yourself. Use common components, right? I built that in one place that can go on any of these dashboards. What's really great about Adaptive is that when you start looking at sheet management, there's very different ways of using adaptive features to navigate through information. The first one I want to show you is drill. Let's look at OpEx expenses here, and we can see that these are really starting to increase rapidly. So I'm just going to click on this and look at my OpEx by department. Drill down is a native feature. There's no additional coding to do this, and it really lets me get in underneath the numbers to see what's going on. And here we can see that our sales north department is really driving the change here. $2 million, that's really out of shape with everyone else. Keep that number in mind. We're gonna come back and take a look at that in a minute. So one of the key things that Adaptive has in terms of usability is also, one of the benefits of using a cloud platform, and it's standardized navigation. So I'm going to come over here to the hamburger menu, and I'm going to pop open our navigation menu. This is really how adaptive models are tied together, right? This is a common component that everyone has access to. I have access to everything available to me because I am an admin in this model, but just know that this is dynamic. If users only have access to certain areas, that's the only area that'll show up on the pane. But this kind of central navigation really helps people collaborate, helps people move around with confidence, and lets them really truly, feel like this is a home where they can come and make decisions without worrying about clicking tabs and moving around and really trying to understand. It's very straightforward, and it's built to be used. From here, why don't we take a look at sort of what a planning interface might look like. And so when I bring this up, this should look really familiar to everyone, right? We've got accounts down the rows, we've got months across the columns, and we've got formatted cells. Here's our levels over here, all the foundational and our version. All of our foundational elements are present. That's that building block approach. And what we're looking at here is formatted cells, right? Adaptive, like Excel, uses formatting to provide information. So cells with gray backgrounds, you can't change the numbers. Cells that are bold are sums. Green cells are actuals. One of the great things about Adaptive is that from a forecasting perspective, you have one source of actuals, and it's clearly communicated by the green font throughout every sheet, every model. Your users know exactly when the actuals have been updated and can trust that you have a central source of truth. Everyone's moved at the same time. If you've ever tried to coordinate updates across multiple models, whether it's in Excel or other platforms, you know that can really be difficult, because if you start off with the wrong month end, it just gets harder and harder to forecast. So let's take a quick example of someone who's a corporate planner. I'm going to pivot here to look at my telephone expenses. We'll talk a little bit more about planning experience. You can see that the format has changed, that I now have my levels on my rows and my account up here. Version and time are still the same. Those didn't change. But the formatting did. Now I have cells with a white background and a blue triangle in the corner. The triangle just means that these are affected by a formula. Okay, formulas are text-based and adaptive, very easy to read. They basically tell you the location and the name, the location on in the model and the name of the formula. I'm going to make a quick change, right? Everything turned orange when I highlighted it. I'm just going to adjust these by a percentage. I'm going to increase everything by, I don't know, 25%. The right-click menu and pop-ups are all part of the wizard-driven, really just business decision-based aspects of Adaptive. You can see that blue numbers are present now based on my change. Adaptive is great and everything is live connected, but you get a second to double check your numbers before you before they're committed to everywhere else. That's one of the things that I love about Adaptive, is it has all of that power of live connection across models, but it has this one pause where I can just save my number. So let's take that kind of day in the life mindset, right? My corporate user is looking at this and they see that this 18.5 is really out of whack. Let me show you another feature. I right click again, and then I explore cell. Explore cell is another way of navigating within Adaptive, right? This tells me everything about that cell, but it also gives me sheets, right? It tells me where that value is coming from, where it's visible, what's going on. I'm just curious as to who added it. So I'm going to go into Audit Trail and I'm going to look at the history of that cell. And what's going to come up is that my director of finance put that in, didn't put any comment into it, so I can save some time now. Now I know it's Patrick. I can reach out to Patrick directly and ask him what's going on. You can see also in this cell history that I've been looking at it and moving back and forth. It's great to know, but really I need to know why Patrick put it in. So from here, let's kind of switch to department level planning. I'm going to switch to the view for the Sales North team. I'll show you a couple of quick things here. You can see that my view has changed again. I have some places I can work here around office expenses. You see an orange triangle. This is what we call a cell note. Cell notes are available to kind of give your collaborators context, right? This is one of those advanced features that lets you leave a note for somebody else who might be working with this. These can be pulled through into reports if you want to. But generally speaking, it's a great way to capture people's thoughts without pieces of paper, notes, things like that. Similar functionality to Excel, it's just that it automatically is available to reports. You don't have to remember to pull it in. If I wanted to add a number, straight data entry works. I can just hit enter, type directly in a cell. If I wanted to copy that number forward, I could copy it forward with just a few clicks on that right click menu. Let's say I also, had a top-down plan and someone said it's got to be $75,000. I can break that back and spread it proportionally across the cells. These are very powerful tools. We take them for granted, but this connects to everything through those foundations and really gives us the confidence that when we make a decision, it is where it needs to be. So other ways that people plan, if you've ever used a supporting schedule, Adaptive has that capability. I'm going to use that Grid Explore cell function again to kind of help me navigate through the sheets. We're going to look at workforce planning for a second. Okay. You can see here that I've got the same cell information. I've got my sheet references, but I also have my formula details, right? This tells me that this is a salary account from personnel. I'm just going to click on the amount to see what makes it up. And from here, I can see really quickly that it's made up of all the individuals. This is great. I want to go to workforce planning now to see how that got built up. So this is sort of internal navigation, helps me get to the right sheet very easily. The user doesn't have to remember where it is. They can just navigate from the number. And we can see that, Adaptive does workforce planning in a very straightforward way, right? You have users making business decisions, right? Making which department people belong to, what their bonus percentages are, different levels of pay rate and things along those lines. But these are all fueled by assumptions, right? Let's say I went in here to take a look at Melanie Watson's calculations. I could navigate to those and see how those are built up, but I can see all kinds of other information here that's being calculated as I go through this, right? Commission rates, new hire percentages, all of these things are formula-driven drivers that the user didn't make these decisions, they were provided elsewhere. And that's where Adaptive has this great capability of centralized assumptions. I'll use that nav pane again, and we'll go over to assumptions. We'll go past assumptions and back to it. And I can look at my workforce drivers. Important note here, adaptive security works primarily in two ways. One at levels, which is your org-based information, and the other is at user-based security. So you would usually set up these workforce rates and salaries and access to those that information just to individuals who would be available to use it. You can see here, though, that all of my standard raises, which month they're active in, are put into these assumptions so that they're available to any sheet. So as you're configuring formulas, you simply reference back to this, and when changes are made by a centralized team, they're inherited everywhere uniformly. That just takes a lot of confusion and risk out of things by having that available to the whole team on the first pass. So that's great. I've showed you a lot of basic, how to do it. It's terrific if you're the modeler, you understand all of this stuff, you've seen it. But what if you're a casual user, right? That's where Adaptive has a great capability called process tracking. What I've brought up now is what the landing page would look like for a sales manager for Sales North. They're an infrequent user who comes in once in a while, and Adaptive's process tracker lets you build their plan for them. You can see here that we've got the overall target dates and plans, the progress of the plan, and their individual tasks they need to do. So your users can come in here, take a look at what's next for them to do, go to their process guide, and have step-by-step instructions on what to do. So we can see here, adjust the workforce plan, review line item expenses, target versus plan comparison, and submit the plan. Let's just do a quick example. Back to dashboards. The power of adaptive dashboards is that they can be configured into this kind of a high-level design concept that we call active dashboards. So what we're looking at here is that the controller recently made a change, and now we have more budget to work with. We're looking at where we can add budget, right? We have our trend line for our target. That's the new target. That's our prior year, and that's our current plan. And so this should look really familiar as the workforce planning area, right? We just looked at that from the back end. If I'm the sales manager, I can just go in here. I can copy a row. Let me just change the name. I can change the start date. Put that out into August. Pop-up calendars are great. Take some of the guesswork out of, did I get the date format correct? Put that back in and save it. And then as it comes back in, you'll see all the numbers change. I am now on target in August. I'm asking for forgiveness, not permission to go a little bit past my target. And that's really what I wanted to show, right? That this is very straightforward. The end user comes in, they're seeing the information in their context, only what's available to them. They can make a fast business decision on the timing, on the rates, on all the information, and have that flow right through. Suppose though it's a little more complicated and you wanted to really kind of take a look at a higher level of something a little more complex. So I'm going to move over to our product revenue planning model and explain a little bit about what's going on here. You can see, again, the foundations, right? We've got our accounts, we've got our time, we've got our version, and our level is here, right? We're at Sales North, but we also have some new information. We have customer and product with their respective attributes. Adaptive also has multi-dimensional planning as well. And I like to use this to kind of show you a what-if scenario. So I'm going to come over to version, and I'm going to create my own private scenario. Simple click. I'm going to select the base version, right? That's what I was working on. But I want to model some stuff that I don't necessarily want to put in the system right away. I'm going to do that. I'm going to pivot this. So I'm planning product by customer. And I just want to do a fast increase. There's our orange highlighting again. And I'm going to save this. So I've made the change, but now I'm really concerned that I may not want it. How do I check, right? You can see here that the format's green. That's a unique format for private scenarios where you've got information in there, but it's not reported on or included yet. So let's go to reports to see how we can do that comparison. Sorry, lost my thread there for a second. Thanks for sticking with me. So this is a report that I love, right? It shows all of my basic financial statements, right? Income statement, balance sheet, cash flow. You can see here that I don't have any variances. I'm comparing working budget to working budget. Let's just go take a look at my demo scenario, which is built off of the working budget. Simply run the report. And you can see that with a couple of clicks, I can now assess the impact of that pricing change, of the units change on my product revenue. So with the time we have left, we work with Excel a lot as planners. And Adaptive has the capability of doing this collaboration reporting in Excel. What we're looking at here is Excel, right? This should look familiar. This is a basic board deck package. You can see here that it's linked directly to my Adaptive instance, right? I have my time, my versions, right? My levels, and I have my accounts down the rows here. Adaptive is very very strong in this kind of Office Connect client. Changes are made very easily. So let me show you really how to add these expenses. Okay, I'll just come here. It's all drag and drop interface. I'll come in really quick. Just select this group with a few clicks, drag it into this area. And then you can see how my formatting has changed, right? These are now blue, these are now linked. And with a simple click refresh, and my numbers come in. The only other thing I'd like to show you here is I always hated to have trailing months to update. It was always a pain in the neck. A lot of editorial work to check them. With Adaptive, I can simply come in and change my calendar ranges, hit refresh, and all of my information updates. That's really what I wanted to show you today. We kind of for efficient sheet management, we touched on that with the nav pane and drilling down, showed you how assumptions linked in. The ad hoc dashboard build kind of gave you a sense of of what's possible and how you can work on that. And then we worked through expenses in the private scenario. Those advanced features really help you build teams together. Process Tracker really helps you with collaboration. That's all I had for today. Back to you, Rich.
Thanks so much, Ernie. I wanted to thank everyone for taking the time to be with us today. I know we're pretty much at time, so any questions that we did have in the Q&A, we will get back to you via email. We don't want you to feel like you weren't heard, but as we are coming up on the time, I don't want to have to keep anyone extra. So I'll follow up via email with those questions. And again, we'll have either myself or someone else from our team reach out to see what you thought and learn more about your current process and how we can help you out with Workday Adaptive Planning. So once again, thank you everyone for taking the time to be with us, and we look forward to talking to you in the near future.